Good morning from Fast Company. Here's our daily look into what's driving today's creative business leaders. Personality is one of the most underrated predictors of career success in the world. Defined by scientists as the range of habits and typical behaviors that make us who we are and different from others, and with more than a century of robust academic evidence on how it impacts work and other real-life outcomes, here are some fascinating facts to digest. Number 1, the simplest and most reliable way to understand someone's personality is to look at their score's position along 5 universal traits, namely emotional stability, how calm, composed, and non-anxious you are; extroversion, how sociable, assertive, and energetic you are; agreeableness, how kind, polite, and friendly you are; openness to experience, how curious, intellectual, and open-minded you are; and conscientiousness, how driven, organized, and self-controlled you are. In fact, every other character trait you may read about, e.g. EQ, grit, empathy, resilience, authoritarian, or overconfident, is nothing but a combination of those big 5 traits, if not merely one of them relabeled, old wine in new bottles. Number 2, there are multiple ways to assess these personality traits, ranging from peer ratings. Most people would agree on their views of a specific person, since we all have consistent reputations and others are able to decode them; AI scraping of digital footprints, what we say and do online and how we say and do it compared to others; and science-based personality assessment. You can take a free visual 2-minute version here. Although some believe that self-report questionnaires are inadequate to capture someone's personality because anyone can lie or distort their answers and manage impressions, well-designed tests translate someone's preferred self-presentation into a prediction of their future performance, including how they behave in work and career settings. Number 3. There are hundreds of independent scientific studies highlighting the consistent predictive power of personality vis-a-vis all types of job performance and career success outcomes. Most notably, the Big 5 have been found to predict job satisfaction, higher in emotionally stable, agreeable, and conscientious people; leadership potential, higher in extroverted, emotionally stable, open to experience, and conscientious people; sales performance, higher in extroverts; general career progression, higher in conscientious and extroverted people, though the latter depends on culture; and resilience, higher in emotionally stable and conscientious people. Even negative or undesirable outcomes such as absenteeism, work conflict, and career instability, all more likely when you have lower emotional stability, conscientiousness, and agreeableness. In short, who you are determines how you work and how you relate to work, including your boss, colleagues, and clients. And yet the predictive power of personality is not destiny. Acknowledging that personality shapes career outcomes does not mean we are prisoner to our dispositions. It does mean, however, that control comes in specific and somewhat counterintuitive forms. Behavioral changes. First, while it is hard to change your personality, it is entirely possible to change your behavior. Personality describes tendencies, not fixed scripts. It reflects what comes naturally, not what is possible. A useful way to think about personality is as a set of default settings rather than an immutable operating system. You may be naturally introverted, emotionally reactive, or low in conscientiousness, but that does not prevent you from acting differently when the situation requires it. It does mean that doing so will take more effort and intention than it would for someone whose personality aligns more closely with the role. This is where self-awareness becomes essential. Without it, people mistake their habits for necessities and their preferences for constraints. With it, they can anticipate when their instincts will help and when they will mislead them. Self-awareness is not achieved through introspection alone. It comes from structured feedback, personality assessment, coaching, and noticing patterns over time. If you receive the same feedback across roles, bosses, or teams, that is not coincidence. It is personality expressing itself. A useful analogy is handedness. Being left-handed does not prevent you from using your right hand, but it does mean that writing with it will feel awkward and effortful at first. Over time, however, people adapt, compensate, and sometimes become functionally ambidextrous. Personality work is much the same way. Good and bad matches. Second, there is no such thing as a universally good or bad personality. There are only good or bad matches. Traits become assessments or liabilities depending on context. High extroversion is advantageous in leadership and sales, but less so in roles requiring sustained focus. High agreeableness supports collaboration, but can undermine negotiation and tough decision-making. High openness fuels learning and innovation, but may complicate execution if not balanced with discipline. This is why talent is often best understood as personality in the right place. Careers accelerate when environments reward who you already are rather than punish it. Much of what organizations label as underperformance is simply misfit. The same individual can look average in one role and exceptional in another without changing much at all. This also explains why changing environments is often more effective than trying to change oneself. If development proves hard or slow, adjusting role design, team composition, or organizational culture can quickly turn a personality liability into a strength. This is not avoidance, it is strategic self-management. Change happens. Third, people can and do change, including in durable ways. Personality is relatively stable, but it is not fixed. Longitudinal research shows that people change across adulthood, often becoming more emotionally stable, agreeable, and conscientious over time. More targeted change can occur through sustained role demands, life events, and deliberate interventions such as coaching. Crucially, coaching almost always works by helping people go against their nature. Leaders are rarely coached to do more of what comes naturally. They are coached to slow down when they rush, listen when they dominate, tolerate uncertainty when they avoid it, or impose structure when they prefer improvisation. In that sense, development is inherently anti-authentic. Growth usually requires behaving less like your default self, not more. This is also why development feels effortless. Personality change does not happen through insight alone, but through repeated behavioral experiments that gradually recalibrate habits. Over time, what once felt unnatural can become routine, expanding a person's behavioral range. A perfect fit isn't required. Fourth, and critically, it is perfectly possible to succeed in roles that are not tailor-made for your personality. Personality explains a meaningful but limited portion of career success. Even under the most generous estimates, it accounts for perhaps 40 to 50% of the variance in outcomes, often less. The rest is explained by skills, learning, motivation, context, opportunity, and persistence. In practice, this means that people routinely succeed in roles that do not fit them naturally. Introverts can be excellent salespeople. They may not draw energy from constant interaction, but they often compensate through preparation, deep listening, and follow-up. Highly agreeable individuals can become effective negotiators by learning when to create constructive conflict. Risk-averse people can lead innovation by relying on disciplined experimentation rather than bold improvisation. Less conscientious individuals can thrive in structured roles by building external systems that compensate for their preferences. In many of these cases, success depends on emotional labor, the ability to display enthusiasm, confidence, or composure that may not reflect one's internal state, but is appropriate for the role. Emotional labor is often dismissed as inauthentic, yet it is one of the most underrated career skills. Many high performers succeed not just because their jobs perfectly match who they are, but because they have learned to perform the role effectively. A useful analogy is acting. Good actors are not limited to playing versions of themselves. They succeed by understanding the demands of the role and adapting accordingly. Careers work much the same way. People often grow into roles that initially felt uncomfortable, not because their personality changed overnight, but because their capacity to adapt expanded. The danger is not stretching beyond your personality, it's doing so indefinitely without recovery, awareness, or choice. In short, personality shapes how we work, how others experience us, and how careers unfold over time. It is one of the most powerful forces in career development precisely because it operates quietly and consistently. But influence is not destiny. With self-awareness, strategic choices, and deliberate development, people can work with their personality rather than be constrained by it. The real risk is not having a particular personality, it is failing to understand the one you have and mistaking being yourself for the same thing as being effective. That's all today from Fast Company. Talk to you tomorrow.
spoken layer.